The worst part was not the betrayal itself. It was the smile. That same smile Derek gave me every morning before he left for work, the one I thought meant love and commitment, was the same smile he probably gave her. As I sat in my car across the street from the coffee shop on that Tuesday morning in March, watching my husband of 7 years lean across the table to kiss another woman, I realized that smile had been a lie for months. Maybe longer. The morning sun reflected off the shop's windows, making it hard to see clearly at first, but there was no mistaking what I was witnessing. His hand reached across to touch hers, their fingers intertwining like young lovers. The woman laughed at something he said, tossing her hair back. She was younger than me, maybe late 20s, wearing a bright red blouse that caught the light. I felt my stomach drop, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. This was real. This was happening. It had started 3 weeks ago, though I did not know it then. Derek had always been a creature of habit. Every morning he would wake at 6, shower, dress in one of his perfectly pressed suits, eat the breakfast I prepared, kiss me goodbye with that smile, and leave for work at exactly 7:15. But 3 weeks ago that smile changed. It was subtle at first. The smile reached his lips but not his eyes. Then it became brighter, more enthusiastic, like he was excited about something. I thought maybe he was happy about a project at work, or perhaps he had finally gotten over the stress that had been bothering him. I was so stupid. This morning had started like any other. I woke to find Derek already in the shower, humming a tune I did not recognize. When he came out, he seemed almost giddy, choosing a blue tie instead of his usual gray or black ones. At breakfast, he barely touched his food, checking his phone every few minutes with that same strange smile playing on his lips. Big day at work? I asked, pouring him more coffee. Something like that, he replied, not meeting my eyes. I might be a little late tonight. Important meeting. That was when something inside me shifted. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but I knew something was wrong. When he kissed me goodbye, I watched through the window as he practically jogged to his car. His whole body language was different, lighter, excited. I made a decision in that moment that changed everything. I grabbed my keys, threw on a green jacket over my pajamas, and followed him. The drive took 20 minutes through morning traffic. Instead of heading toward his office downtown, Derek turned into a neighborhood I recognized as being near his workplace but not quite there. He parked on a quiet street lined with small shops and cafes. I parked 3 cars behind, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Derek got out, checked his reflection in the car window, adjusted his tie, and walked with purpose toward a coffee shop called The Daily Grind. Through my windshield I watched him enter. 5 minutes later she arrived. She was beautiful, I had to admit. Tall, slender, with long dark hair that fell in waves down her back. She wore that red blouse with black pants and heels that clicked on the pavement. But more than her appearance, it was the way she moved that caught my attention. Confident. Like she owned the world. Like she owned my husband. When she entered the coffee shop, I waited another minute before getting out of my car. My legs felt like jelly, but I forced myself to walk closer. I stayed across the street, partially hidden behind a mailbox, watching through the large front windows. They sat at a corner table. Derek had already ordered for her coffee and what looked like a pastry. The intimate knowledge of her preferences hit me like a physical blow. They were not just having an affair. This was a routine. This had happened before many times. I watched as they talked, laughed, touched. His hand on hers. Her fingers tracing patterns on his wrist. The way he leaned in to listen to her, giving her his complete attention in a way he had not given me in months. Maybe years. Then he kissed her. Not a quick peck, but a real kiss. The kind that spoke of familiarity and desire. The kind he used to give me before we got too comfortable, too complacent. The kind I thought we still had. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. I watched them finish their coffee, watched him pay the bill, watched them walk out together. They stopped outside the shop, and he kissed her again before they separated. She walked one direction, he walked another, both heading to what I assumed were their respective offices. Only then did I return to my car. I sat in the driver's seat, staring at nothing, my mind racing through every moment of the past few months. The late nights at work. The weekend conference he attended alone. The new cologne. The way he started going to the gym more regularly. The distance in his eyes when we made love, like he was thinking of someone else. All the signs had been there. I just had not wanted to see them. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Hope you have a great day, babe. Love you. I stared at those words. Love you. How could he type those words to me while still tasting another woman's coffee on his lips? I did not respond. Instead, I drove home in a daze, my mind splitting into 2 parts. One part wanted to scream, cry, throw things, confront him immediately. The other part, the part that would eventually win, was already calculating, planning, thinking ahead. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I had made several decisions. First, I would not confront Derek immediately. Second, I would gather evidence. Third, I would protect myself financially and legally. Fourth, and most importantly, I would not fall apart. I would not give him or her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I walked into our house, the home we had bought together 5 years ago, the place where I thought we were building a life. Everything looked the same. The blue couch we had argued about buying. The wedding photos on the mantel. The kitchen where I cooked meals he barely ate anymore. But everything had changed. I went to our bedroom, opened Derek's closet, and began searching. I did not know what I was looking for exactly, but I knew I would find something. In the inside pocket of a suit jacket he rarely wore, I found a receipt. Dinner at an expensive restaurant downtown, dated 2 months ago. The amount was for 2 people. I had been visiting my mother that weekend. He told me he worked late and grabbed fast food. That receipt went into a folder I created and hid in my craft room, a space Derek never entered. It was the first piece of evidence, but it would not be the last. As I sat in that room, surrounded by my half-finished projects and broken dreams, I felt something shift inside me. The shock was fading, replaced by something colder, harder. Determination. Derek thought he could have his cake and eat it too. He thought I was too trusting, too comfortable, too dependent on him to ever find out or do anything about it. He thought wrong. I would not cry. Not yet. There would be time for tears later, after I had taken everything he thought was his and built something better for myself. The smile that had seemed so loving this morning now felt like a weapon. But weapons could be turned around. And I was done being the victim. The next 2 weeks turned me into someone I barely recognized. Every morning, I played the role of devoted wife. I made breakfast, kissed Derek goodbye, smiled when he said he loved me. But the moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I transformed into an investigator. I started with our finances. Derek had always handled the bills, saying it was easier if one person managed everything. I had been content to let him, focused on keeping our home and my part-time job at the local library. Now I realized that had been a mistake. I logged into our bank account using the password I found written in his desk drawer. What I discovered made my blood run cold. Over the past 8 months, there had been regular withdrawals of $200 to $300, always in cash. Restaurant charges I did not recognize. Purchases from jewelry stores and boutiques. Hotel rooms. 8 months. The affair had been going on for 8 months. I photographed every transaction, every statement, saving them to a cloud account Derek did not know about. The evidence folder grew thicker each day. On Thursday, I called Nicole, my best friend since college. We met at a park across town where I knew we would not run into anyone we knew. "You look terrible," she said when she saw me, her brown eyes filled with concern. She wore a bright maroon tracksuit, having just come from her yoga class. "I need to tell you something, and you cannot tell anyone. Not even Marcus." Marcus was her husband and Derek's friend. I told her everything. The smile, the coffee shop, the other woman, the bank statements. Nicole listened without interrupting, her face growing darker with each detail. "That bastard," she said when I finished. "I never liked him, you know. Always thought he was too smooth. I need help," I admitted. "I need to hire a private investigator, but I cannot have any of this traced back to me. Not yet." Nicole pulled out her phone. "My cousin used one last year when she suspected her husband. The guy was discreet and thorough. Let me text you his information." Within an hour, I had an appointment with Robert Chin. Wait, I cannot use Chin. Let me revise. Within an hour, I had an appointment with Robert Morrison, a private investigator who operated out of a small office downtown. Robert was in his 50s, with gray hair and kind eyes that had probably seen too much. His office was neat, professional, with certificates on the wall and a photo of what I assumed was his family on his desk. "Tell me everything," he said, pulling out a notepad. I went through the story again, this time with more details. The coffee shop. The times Derek said he was working late. The changes in his behavior. "I can help you," Robert said when I finished. "But I need to be honest about costs. Surveillance is not cheap. Following someone, documenting their activities, gathering photographic evidence. It runs about $150 an hour plus expenses." My heart sank. I had about $2,000 in a personal account from my library job, money I had been saving for a vacation Derek kept postponing. "I can give you a week of surveillance for $1,500, Robert continued. "That should be enough to establish a pattern and get you solid proof." "You said he meets her every Tuesday and Thursday morning?" "Yes. At the Daily Grind coffee shop. 7:30. Then that's where I'll start. I wrote him a check, feeling oddly calm. This was an investment in my future. My freedom. One more thing, Robert said as I stood to leave. Whatever you're planning, make sure you talk to a lawyer before you confront him. You need to protect yourself legally and financially. I nodded. That was already my next stop. Patricia Williams? No, I cannot use Williams either. Patricia Henderson was a divorce attorney whose name I found through an online search for the best family lawyers in the state. Her reviews were glowing. Tough, fair, takes no prisoners. Perfect. Her office was in a downtown high-rise, all glass and steel. The receptionist directed me to a conference room where Patricia met me 15 minutes later. She was in her 40s, African-American like me, wearing a sharp blue suit that spoke of success. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo. "Simone," she said, shaking my hand with a firm grip. "Tell me why you're here." I laid out the situation, showing her copies of the bank statements, the receipt I had found, the photos I had taken of Derek and the other woman from my car. Patricia listened, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she looked at me directly. "First question. Do you want to try to save this marriage?" "No." "Good." "Second question. Are you prepared for this to get ugly?" "Because it will. Most divorces do, especially when there's infidelity and money involved." "I'm prepared." "Third question. What are your financial goals? What do you want to walk away with?" I had thought about this. Half of everything we own together. The house equity, the savings, his retirement account. I want alimony until I can support myself fully. And I want to make sure he pays for what he's done. Patricia smiled. It was not a warm smile, but an approving one. "You're thinking clearly. That's good. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wait for your investigator to gather evidence. Meanwhile, I need you to do several things. First, open a bank account in your name only at a different bank. Second, make copies of every financial document in your house. Tax returns, insurance policies, property deeds, everything. Third, document your contributions to the household. Keep receipts for groceries, bills you pay, anything that shows you're a financial partner in this marriage. Fourth, and this is important, do not change your behavior around Derek. Act normal. We do not want to tip him off." "How much will this cost?" I asked. "My retainer is $5,000. That covers the initial filing and basic proceedings. If it goes to trial, costs go up. But most cases settle before that. $5,000. It might as well have been $50,000. But I nodded. "I'll figure it out. Do you have access to credit cards?" "Joint ones." "Use one. It's a marital asset, and you have every right to use it for legal protection. Just don't go crazy. We need you to look reasonable when this goes before a judge." I left Patricia's office feeling both terrified and empowered. This was really happening. I was really going to divorce Derek. That evening, Derek came home at his usual time, 6:30. He kissed me hello, that same fake smile on his face. "How was your day?" he asked. "Fine. Quiet." "How was yours?" "Long, tiring." "I'm glad to be home." Liar. We ate dinner together, watching a cooking show on television. Derek talked about his day, about a difficult client, about office politics. All normal topics. All probably lies. "I might need to travel next month," he said casually. "Conference in Atlanta. 3 days." "Okay," I said, equally casual. "Will you need me to pick you up from the airport?" "No, I'll drive and park." More lies. There probably was no conference. Just more time with her. After dinner, Derek went to his home office to catch up on work. I cleaned the kitchen, then went to my craft room. But instead of working on the scrapbook I had told him I was making, I began my own work. I logged into our joint credit card account and printed out the last 2 years of statements. I went through our filing cabinet and copied our tax returns, mortgage papers, car titles, and insurance policies. I found Derek's retirement account statements and photographed every page. Then I created a checklist of everything Patricia had told me to do. Open new bank account, doing this tomorrow. Copy all financial documents in progress. Document household contributions, started. Maintain normal behavior, doing it. Wait for investigators' report, in progress. The next morning, Friday, I went to a bank across town and opened a savings account with $500 from my personal account. The banker, a friendly woman named Ruth, helped me set up online access. "Starting a rainy day fund?" she asked cheerfully. "Something like that," I replied. That afternoon, I received an email from Robert. He had followed Derek that morning. Attached were photos of Derek and the woman at the coffee shop. But there was more. Robert had identified her. Her name was Brianna Foster, age 28, and she worked in Derek's office as a marketing coordinator. They had been hired around the same time 8 months ago, when Derek's company brought in new staff. So that was how it started. A new coworker. Probably working late together, going to lunch together, the attraction building until they crossed a line Derek should never have crossed. Robert's email continued. He had followed Brianna back to her apartment. He had her address, her license plate number, even her social media accounts, which were set to public. I forced myself to look at her Instagram. Photos of her at clubs, at brunch with friends, at the gym. And there, buried in photos from 2 weeks ago, a picture of a man's hand holding hers across a restaurant table. The watch on the wrist was Derek's. I recognized it because I had given it to him for our 5th anniversary. She had posted a photo of her date with my husband on social media. The audacity was breathtaking. I forwarded everything to Patricia and added it to my evidence folder. On Saturday, Derek suggested we go out for dinner. We haven't had a date night in a while, he said. The hypocrisy was stunning. But I smiled and agreed. We went to an Italian restaurant we used to love. Derek was attentive, complimentary, the perfect husband. Over pasta and wine, he talked about maybe taking a vacation this summer, about wanting to reconnect, about how much he loved me. I wanted to throw my wine in his face. Instead, I smiled and played along, all while thinking about the photos in my evidence folder, the lawyer waiting for my call, the new bank account in my name only. Derek thought he was winning. He thought he had it all figured out. His stable home life with me, his exciting affair with Brianna, his perfect double life. He had no idea the walls were already closing in. That night, after Derek fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. In 2 weeks, I had transformed from a trusting wife into a woman preparing for battle. The journey ahead would not be easy, but I was ready. The old Simone, the one who believed in that smile, was gone. The new Simone was just getting started. By the end of week 3, my life had split into 2 distinct realities. In one reality, I was Simone Johnson, devoted wife who cooked meals, did laundry, and maintained the comfortable routine of married life. In the other reality, I was Simone Henderson, a woman planning her escape from a 7-year lie. The evidence folder now contained 3 weeks of surveillance photos from Robert, bank statements showing over $20,000 spent on the affair, and a detailed timeline of Derek's deception. Patricia had reviewed everything and declared we had a strong case. He's been sloppy, Patricia said during our second meeting. Good for us, bad for him. The judge will not look kindly on someone who drained marital assets for an affair. What's next? I asked. We wait a bit longer. I want at least 6 weeks of documentation. Meanwhile, you need to think about your future. What do you want to do after the divorce? Where will you live? How will you support yourself? Those questions kept me up at night. My library job paid barely above minimum wage, working 20 hours a week. It had been perfect when Derek's salary covered most of our expenses, but it would not be enough to support myself. I needed a plan. The answer came unexpectedly on a Tuesday evening. I was browsing online, reading articles about women who rebuilt their lives after divorce, when I stumbled across a blog about virtual assistant businesses. The author described how she built a 6-figure income working from home, providing administrative support to busy executives and entrepreneurs. I read every post on her blog, then researched more about the industry. Virtual assistants handled tasks like email management, scheduling, social media, bookkeeping, and customer service. The startup costs were minimal. Just a computer, which I had, and a phone line. The potential income was significant if you built a good client base. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than anger and hurt. I felt hope. I spent the next several days researching how to start a virtual assistant business. I took free online courses in time management and basic bookkeeping. I created a simple website using a free template listing services I could offer. I set up a business email address and a separate phone number through an app. Then I did something terrifying. I posted my services on several freelancing websites, offering my assistance at a lower rate than established professionals to build my portfolio. Within 2 days, I got my first client. A small business owner named Tom who needed someone to manage his email and schedule appointments. He paid $200 for 10 hours of work. It was not much, but it was mine. Money I earned independently, going into my separate bank account. The work was easy, almost relaxing. I would wait until Derek left for his morning coffee date with Brianna, then spend 2 hours working on Tom's tasks. By the time I needed to start thinking about dinner, I was done. Derek never knew. My second client came a week later. A consultant who needed social media management. Then a third, a real estate agent who needed help organizing her contacts. By the end of week 5 since discovering the affair, I had 5 clients and was making about $600 a week. It was not enough to live on yet, but it was a foundation. Nicole noticed the change in me when we met for lunch at a cafe across town. "You look different," she said, studying my face. I was wearing a green blouse I had not worn in years, one Derek always said was too bright. Less broken. "I'm building something." I told her about the virtual assistant business, the clients, the money accumulating in my secret account. "By the time I file for divorce, I'll be able to show the court I have income potential. It will help my case." "You're brilliant," Nicole said. "Does Derek suspect anything?" "Not at all. He's too busy with Brianna to notice what I'm doing." That was true. Derek had become even more absent, both physically and emotionally. He came home later, spent more time on his phone, and showed less interest in anything related to our life together. Last week he forgot our anniversary entirely. 7 years of marriage, and he did not even remember the date. I did not remind him. "How much longer until you file?" Nicole asked. "Patricia wants 6 weeks of solid documentation. We're at week 5 now. Soon." The waiting was the hardest part. Every morning watching Derek put on that fake smile. Every evening making dinner for a man who was thinking about another woman. Every night lying next to him in bed, knowing where he had been, what he had done. But the waiting had a purpose. The longer I waited, the stronger my case became. The more evidence I gathered. The more money I saved. The more clients I signed. On Thursday of week 6, Robert sent his final report. He had documented 37 meetings between Derek and Brianna over 6 weeks. Coffee dates, lunch dates, twice they met at a hotel during Derek's supposed late nights at work. The photographic evidence was undeniable. Robert's report also contained something unexpected. He had dug into Derek's recent financial activity and found that Derek had opened a separate credit card I did not know about. On that card, there were charges for expensive dinners, jewelry, weekend trips. The balance was over $15,000. "That's marital debt," Patricia explained when I showed her. "Which means you're partially responsible for it in the divorce. But it also shows a pattern of financial deception, which strengthens your case for a larger settlement." Everything was coming together. The evidence was overwhelming. My business was growing. My savings account had over $4,000. I had copies of every financial document. I was ready. "When do you want to do this?" Patricia asked. I thought about Derek's calendar. He had mentioned a big presentation at work next Thursday. He would be stressed, distracted, vulnerable. "Next Friday," I said. "I'll confront him Friday evening. Can you have the papers ready to serve him by then?" "Absolutely. I'll have them drawn up by Wednesday. You can review them, and if everything looks good, we'll have him served Monday morning at his office." "No," I said quickly. "Not at his office. I want to hand them to him myself. I want to see his face." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "That's unusual. Most people prefer to avoid the confrontation." "I've earned this confrontation. I've spent 6 weeks playing the fool while gathering evidence. I want him to know I knew that I planned this, that I beat him at his own game." "All right then. We'll prepare everything and you can serve him the papers yourself. But I recommend having someone with you. A witness. Things can get heated." "Nicole will be there." That evening I told Nicole the plan. We would confront Derek next Friday at 7 o'clock. Nicole would come over at 6:30, ostensibly to drop off something she borrowed. She would stay for the confrontation both as support and as a witness. "Are you sure you want to do it this way?" Nicole asked. "You could just leave him the papers and go. Stay somewhere safe." "I'm sure. He deserves to see what he's lost. He deserves to know I'm not the naive woman he thought I was." The final week was surreal. Derek was in a good mood, probably because his presentation went well. He was affectionate, attentive, talking about how things were looking up at work, how maybe we could finally take that vacation. I played along, counting down the days. On Thursday night, I packed a bag with essentials and took it to Nicole's house. Clothes, toiletries, important documents, my laptop. Everything I might need for a few days away. The plan was to stay with Nicole after the confrontation, giving Derek time to process and move out. Patricia had been clear. Once you serve him, the house is still jointly owned, but you can ask him to leave. If he refuses, we'll get a court order. But usually, once someone is caught and confronted, they go without much fight. Friday arrived. I woke up feeling strangely calm. This was it. The day I had been working toward for 6 weeks. The day my old life ended and my new life began. I made breakfast as usual. Derek ate quickly, checking his phone. "I'll probably be late tonight," he said. Got drinks with some coworkers to celebrate the project completion. What? But it did not matter anymore. That's fine, I said. I might have Nicole over anyway. He kissed me goodbye with that smile. For the last time. After he left, I spent the day preparing. I cleaned the house not because it needed it, but because I needed something to do with my hands. I confirmed with Nicole that she would arrive at 6:30. I reviewed the divorce papers Patricia had sent over, making sure everything was correct. At 5 o'clock, I changed into a blue dress, one of my favorites. I did my makeup carefully. I wanted to look strong, put together, not like a woman falling apart. At 6:15, my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Running late. Be home by 7:30. Perfect timing. Nicole arrived at 6:30, carrying a bottle of wine we would not drink and a tote bag as a prop. How are you feeling? She asked. Ready. We sat in the living room, the divorce papers in a manila folder on the coffee table. At 7:25, we heard Derek's car in the driveway. Nicole squeezed my hand. You've got this. Derek walked in, loosening his tie. He stopped when he saw Nicole. Oh, hey Nicole. I didn't know you were coming over. Just dropping something off, Nicole said, her voice carefully neutral. Derek, I said. We need to talk. Sit down. Something in my tone made him pause. His eyes darted between Nicole and me, confusion crossing his face. What's going on? Sit down, I repeated. He sat on the couch across from me, his body language shifting from relaxed to tense. I picked up the manila folder and handed it to him. What's this? He asked. Open it. He did. I watched his face as he realized what he was looking at. Divorce papers. His name, my name, legal language about dissolution of marriage. Simone, what? I don't understand. Yes, you do, I said, my voice steady. I know about Brianna. I've known for 6 weeks. I have photos of you with her at the daily grind every Tuesday and Thursday morning. I have bank statements showing the money you spent on her. I have hotel receipts. I have everything, Derek. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. I hired a private investigator. I have a lawyer. I have evidence of an 8-month affair. I have documentation of you spending over $20,000 of our money on another woman. I know about the secret credit card. I know everything. Simone, I can explain. This is not what it looks like. Stop. I held up my hand. Do not insult me further with lies. I've watched you lie to my face every single day for 6 weeks. I'm done listening to your lies. It was a mistake. I'll end it. We can work through this. Please. No, we can't. And even if we could, I wouldn't want to. You killed whatever we had. That's on you. You can't just end our marriage like this. Actually, I can. Those are divorce papers. You have been served. My lawyer will be in contact with yours. I want you to pack a bag and leave tonight. This is my house too. And we'll settle that in court. But for now, I'm asking you to leave. Unless you want me to call the police and tell them you're making me uncomfortable in my own home. Nicole stood up, her phone in her hand. I'm a witness to everything said here tonight. Derek, you should probably do what Simone is asking. Derek looked between us, realization dawning that this was planned, coordinated, that I had outmaneuvered him completely. Fine, he said, standing abruptly. This is insane. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is not seeing through your lies sooner. He stormed upstairs. We heard him moving around, opening drawers, slamming things. 20 minutes later, he came down with a duffel bag in his laptop case. At the door, he turned back. I really do love you, Simone. No, you don't. You love having someone to come home to while you play around with someone else. That's not love. Now leave. He left. The door closed behind him. Nicole and I stood in the silence. Then, for the first time in 6 weeks, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was free. The weekend after Derek left was strange. I stayed with Nicole, sleeping in her guest room, waking up in an unfamiliar place. But it was not Derek's absence that felt odd. It was the lightness. Like a weight I had been carrying for so long had finally been lifted. Monday morning, Patricia called with an update. Derek had hired a lawyer, someone named Richard Foster from a mid-tier firm. They wanted to negotiate a settlement rather than go to trial. That's good for us, Patricia said. Trials are expensive and messy. But don't let the quick response fool you. They're going to lowball you. Be prepared to hold firm. I'm ready, I said. I was back at my own house now. Derek had come by Saturday afternoon while I was out to collect more of his belongings. He left the house keys on the kitchen counter. Good riddance. That evening, I sat in my craft room, now transformed into my home office, and looked at my growing business. I had 8 clients now, making about $900 a week. It was not enough yet, but it was growing steadily. My phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Hi, is this Simone? This is Claudia Park. I found your profile on the freelancing site. I run a small marketing agency, and we're overwhelmed with administrative work. Are you taking new clients? My heart raced. This could be big. Yes, I am. Tell me about what you need. Claudia explained that her agency had grown faster than expected. They needed someone to handle client onboarding, invoice tracking, email management, and calendar coordination for 3 consultants. It's about 20 hours a week of work, Claudia said. We can pay $30 an hour to start. If it works out, we'd want to increase your hours and your rate. $600 a week. That would bring my total weekly income to $1,500. That was livable. That was freedom. I'm very interested, I said, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. When would you need me to start? Yesterday, Claudia laughed. But realistically, next Monday? We talked for another 30 minutes about expectations, systems, and communication. By the end of the call, I had signed a contract via email. My biggest client yet. After hanging up, I sat back in my chair, staring at my computer screen. This was really happening. I was building a real business. Something that was mine, that Derek could not touch, that proved I did not need him. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. I would wake up at 6, work on client tasks until noon, break for lunch, work until 4, then handle household tasks and personal business. The divorce proceedings moved forward with Patricia and Derek's lawyer exchanging proposals. Derek's first offer was insulting. He wanted to give me $20,000 in the car, keeping the house, his retirement account, and most of the savings. Absolutely not, I told Patricia. The house is worth $300,000. We've paid off about $100,000 of the mortgage. I want my share of that equity plus half his retirement account, which is about $80,000, and alimony for 3 years while I establish my business. Patricia smiled. Now you're thinking like a fighter. Let's counter with that. While the lawyers negotiated, I focused on growing my business. Claudia's agency was thrilled with my work. After 2 weeks, they increased my hours to 30 per week at $35 an hour. Over $1,000 a week just from them. I hired a CPA to help me set up my business properly. I registered an LLC, opened a business bank account, and started tracking expenses for tax purposes. I created an invoice system and payment terms. I was becoming a real entrepreneur. One evening, while working late on a client project, I received an email through my website contact form. Hi Simone, I saw your virtual assistant services online. I'm launching a new online course about financial planning and need help with customer service, email campaigns, and student enrollment management. This would be a long-term position if interested. Let's talk. Best, Margaret Stone. I looked Margaret up online. She was a certified financial planner with a huge social media following. Her courses sold for hundreds of dollars. This could be another major client. We scheduled a video call for the next day. Margaret was in her 50s, professional but warm, with an energy that made you want to succeed. I like your profile, she said. You're just starting out, which means you're hungry. You'll work harder than someone established and comfortable. She was right. I'm launching my course in 6 weeks, Margaret continued. I need someone to handle the technical setup, customer inquiries, payment processing, and student support once it launches. It's probably 40 hours a week for the launch period, then settling into 20 hours ongoing. 40 hours a week. At my rate of $30 an hour, that was $1,600 a week. Plus my other clients. I would be making over $2,000 weekly. That was more than $80,000 a year. I'm definitely interested, I said. Tell me more about the timeline. We talked for an hour. By the end, I had another major contract. I would start immediately, helping set up her course platform, write email sequences, and prepare customer service templates. After the call ended, I sat in silence, overwhelmed. 2 months ago, I was a part-time library worker making barely enough for personal expenses. Now I was running a business with multiple high-paying clients. I was going to be okay. Better than okay. That night, Nicole came over with Chinese food to celebrate. You're glowing, she said, setting containers on my kitchen table. This divorce is the best thing that ever happened to you. It's weird, right? I should be devastated. Instead, I feel alive for the first time in years. Derek held you back. He made you think you needed him. Turns out you didn't. We ate and talked about my business, my plans to eventually hire an assistant of my own, maybe even build a whole agency. Have you heard from him? Nicole asked carefully. Just through lawyers. He's living with a friend, I think. Or maybe with Brianna, I don't know and I don't care. That was true. I did not care. The man I thought I married did not exist. The real Derek was someone I wanted nothing to do with. His lawyer sent over a revised settlement offer, I said. It's better but still not good enough. They're offering me 40% of the house equity, half the retirement account, but only 1 year of alimony. What did Patricia say? She's holding firm on our original demands. 3 years of alimony, 50% of everything, and Derek pays my legal fees since he caused the divorce. Good. Make him pay. That became my mantra. Make him pay. Not out of spite, though there was some of that, but because I deserved it. I had invested 7 years in a marriage I thought was solid. I had supported his career, maintained our home, been a good partner. While he was spending our money on another woman, I was being faithful and building our life. I deserved compensation for that. By week 8 after the confrontation, my business income had stabilized at about $2,500 a week. I had 10 regular clients plus Margaret's big project. I was working 50-hour weeks, but I loved it. Every dollar I earned proved I did not need Derek. Every client I signed proved I was capable and valuable. The divorce mediation was scheduled for mid-April. Patricia warned me it could get contentious. Derek's lawyer is going to argue that your business income should reduce the alimony amount, she explained. Be prepared for that. But I built this business after he left with my own skills and effort. I know, and we'll argue that. But judges sometimes see increased income as reducing need. Just be prepared. I was prepared for anything. The old Simone, the one who trusted Derek's smile, would have been intimidated by legal proceedings. The new Simone, the business owner, the evidence gatherer, the fighter, was ready. A week before mediation, I reached a milestone. My business bank account hit $10,000. Money I had earned in less than 2 months. Money that was purely mine. I treated myself to dinner at a nice restaurant, sitting alone at a table for 2, eating an expensive meal and drinking good wine. People probably thought I was stood up or lonely, but I was celebrating. Celebrating my independence, my strength, my future. As I ate, I thought about how different my life looked now. 2 months ago, I was watching my husband kiss another woman, feeling like my world was ending. Now I was building something bigger than I had ever imagined. Derek had thought I needed him. He thought I would fall apart without him. He thought I would beg him to stay, to work it out, to give us another chance. He was wrong about everything. The mediation took place in a conference room at Patricia's law office on a Tuesday morning in mid-April. I wore a maroon dress and black heels, my natural hairstyle professionally. I wanted to look successful, confident, untouchable. Derek arrived with his lawyer, Richard Foster, a man in his 60s with silver hair and an expensive suit. Derek looked tired, older than I remembered. Dark circles under his eyes. His suit was wrinkled. We sat on opposite sides of a long conference table. Derek tried to catch my eye, but I looked through him like he was transparent. The mediator, a woman named Helen Rodriguez, explained the process. Each side would present their position, then we would negotiate until we reached an agreement or determined we needed to go to court. Patricia spoke first, laying out our demands clearly. 50% of all marital assets, including the house equity, savings, and Derek's retirement account. 3 years of alimony at $1,500 per month. Derek to pay all legal fees. All marital debts to be split equally, except for the secret credit card Derek opened for the affair, which would be his sole responsibility. Richard countered. 40% of marital assets for me. 1 year of alimony at $1,000 per month. Legal fees split. All debts split equally. That's completely unacceptable, Patricia said firmly. Your client spent over $20,000 of marital funds on an extramarital affair. He hid financial information. He created debt without his wife's knowledge. The court will not look kindly on that behavior. My client made mistakes, Richard said smoothly. But Mrs. Johnson has significantly increased her income since the separation. She's now making approximately $6,000 monthly from her business. She doesn't need extensive alimony. I felt my blood pressure rise. He was using my success against me. Patricia did not miss a beat. Mrs. Johnson built that business after discovering her husband's betrayal, using her own skills and working 80-hour weeks. That income is not guaranteed to continue. She needs security while she establishes herself. Furthermore, while Mr. Johnson was carrying on his affair, Mrs. Johnson was supporting the household and his career. She's entitled to compensation for that. The mediation went on for 3 hours. Back and forth. Numbers thrown around. Richard trying to minimize Derek's actions. Patricia holding firm on my worth. Finally, Helen called for a break. Patricia and I went to her private office. They're going to come back with a better offer, Patricia said. But I don't think they'll meet all our demands. You need to decide what you're willing to compromise on. I want the 3 years of alimony, I said. And I want him to pay the legal fees. I'll compromise slightly on the asset split if I have to. Okay. Let me see what I can do. When we reconvened, Richard made a new offer. 45% of assets. 2 years of alimony at $1,200 per month. Derek pays 75% of legal fees. Patricia looked at me. I thought about it. 2 years at $1,200 was $28,800. Combined with my business income, I would be more than comfortable. And 45% of the assets was about $90,000 total. It was not everything I wanted, but it was fair. I want the full 50% of the retirement account, I said. And the house needs to be sold within 6 months, not the year they're proposing. I don't want this dragging out. Richard conferred with Derek, who nodded reluctantly. We can agree to that, Richard said. Then we have a deal, Patricia replied. The mediator drew up the agreement. As I read through the terms, the reality hit me. This was it. My marriage was officially ending. In legal terms, at least. There's one more thing, Derek said suddenly, speaking directly for the first time. Can I talk to Simone alone? Just for a minute? Patricia started to object, but I held up my hand. It's fine. 2 minutes. We went to an empty conference room down the hall. Derek closed the door and turned to face me. I'm sorry, he said. His eyes were red. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Derek? That I forgive you? I don't. That I understand? I don't. You destroyed 7 years of my life because you were selfish and weak. It wasn't like that. Things between us had gotten stale. We were more roommates than husband and wife. Brianna made me feel alive again. I laughed, a bitter sound. So this is my fault? Because I was boring? Because I didn't make you feel alive while I was cooking your meals and doing your laundry and supporting your career? No, that's not what I meant. Let me tell you something, Derek. You did me a favor. These past 2 months have been the best of my life. I built a business I'm proud of. I've discovered I'm stronger than I ever knew. I've learned I don't need you or anyone else to be happy. So thank you for cheating on me. Thank you for showing me who you really are before I wasted another 7 years. You really hate me, don't you? No. Hate requires caring. I don't care about you at all anymore. You're just someone I used to know. His face crumpled. Part of me felt satisfaction at his pain. But mostly I felt nothing. I broke up with Brianna, he said quietly. Last week. I don't care. She was using me. She wanted me to leave you, marry her. When I wouldn't commit, she left me for someone else. I really truly do not care. I know I ruined everything. I know I don't deserve it. But is there any chance we could try again? Start over? I stared at him in disbelief. Are you serious right now? I miss you. I miss our life. I made a mistake. You made 1,000 mistakes. And no, there is absolutely zero chance of us getting back together. Sign the papers, move on with your life, and leave me alone. I walked out of the conference room, leaving him standing there alone. Patricia was waiting in the hall. Everything okay? She asked. Perfect. Let's finish this. We signed the mediation agreement. It would take a few weeks to process through the court, but effectively we were done. I was going to be divorced. That evening, Nicole took me out to celebrate. We went to a wine bar downtown, dressed up and feeling powerful. You did it, Nicole said, raising her glass. You're free. I'm free, I repeated, the words feeling strange and wonderful. It's really over. How do you feel? Relieved, excited, a little scared, but mostly just free. We talked about the future. I told her about my business plans, about maybe eventually hiring employees, about the courses I wanted to take to improve my skills. Have you thought about dating? Nicole asked. Not even a little bit. I'm focusing on me right now. Good. You deserve time to yourself. But as the evening went on and the wine flowed, I found myself thinking about the future in new ways. Not about dating necessarily, but about possibilities. I was 32 years old. My whole life was ahead of me. I could go anywhere, do anything, be anyone. When I got home that night, I walked through my house, the home I had shared with Derek. Soon it would sell and I would move somewhere new. Somewhere without memories of betrayal. Somewhere that was completely mine. I went to my home office and looked at my calendar. I had client calls scheduled for the rest of the week. Margaret's course was launching in 2 weeks, which meant my income was about to spike significantly. I had proposals out to 3 more potential clients. I opened my business banking app. $15,000. In 3 months, I had saved $15,000 from my own work. I thought about Derek's parting words. That he wanted to try again. That he missed me. The old Simone might have considered it. Might have thought about second chances and marriage vows and trying to work it out. But the new Simone knew better. Some things once broken could not be fixed. Some betrayals were too deep. And more importantly, I did not want to fix it. I was better off without him. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in months. No more pretending. No more playing a role. Just me building my life one day at a time. The divorce was not final yet. There were still weeks of processing and paperwork ahead. But the hard part was over. I had stood up for myself. I had demanded what I deserved. I had won. Derek had thought he could have everything. His affair, his comfortable home life, his perfect image. Instead, he lost it all. His wife, his money, his reputation at work. Once word got out about why we divorced. Even his mistress who dumped him when he was no longer useful. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Building. Growing. Succeeding. They say the best revenge is living well. I was starting to understand what that meant. The 6 weeks following mediation were a strange blend of endings and beginnings. The house went on the market in early May. Derek and I had agreed to split the proceeds after paying off the remaining mortgage. Our realtor, an energetic woman named Samantha, was optimistic about a quick sale. This is a seller's market, she explained as we walked through for the listing photos. Good neighborhood, well-maintained house, decent price point. I'd be surprised if it doesn't sell within a month. She was right. 3 weeks later, we had an offer. A young couple with a new baby, excited about the backyard and the good school district. They offered $10,000 over asking price. Derek and I both accepted through our lawyers. After paying off the mortgage and realtor fees, we would each walk away with about $52,000. Combined with my share of the savings and the first payment from Derek's retirement account, I would have close to $90,000. Enough for a down payment on my own place with plenty left over for business expenses and emergencies. But the divorce process was not just about money. It was also about watching Derek's life fall apart from a distance, hearing bits and pieces through mutual friends and social media. The affair had become public knowledge at Derek's workplace. Apparently, someone in HR had noticed the expense reports Derek filed for those hotel rooms and started asking questions. Combined with the divorce filing citing adultery, the truth came out. Derek did not get fired, but he did not get the promotion he had been expecting either. His reputation was damaged. I heard through Nicole, who heard from someone else, that Brianna had indeed left Derek for another man. Someone wealthier, according to the gossip. Derek was apparently taking it hard. I focused on my own life, which was flourishing. Margaret's course launched in mid-May, and it was a massive success. Over 300 people enrolled in the first week at $397 each. That was over $100,000 in sales. My commission for managing the customer service and technical side was 5% of gross sales, plus my hourly rate for ongoing support. $5,000 in commission plus my regular fees. In 1 week. This is incredible, Margaret said on our weekly video call. The students love how responsive you are. I've had multiple people comment on how professional the whole operation feels. That's my job, I said, smiling. To make you look good. While you're doing it. I'm planning my next course for fall. I want you on board for that too. And I'm referring you to 2 colleagues who are launching their own courses. I hope that's okay. More than okay. Thank you. By June, my client roster had grown to 15 active clients. I was working 60-hour weeks, but I loved every minute. I hired my first subcontractor, Rachel, a recent college graduate who needed experience. I paid her $20 an hour to handle some of the more routine tasks for my clients, freeing me up to focus on the higher value work and business development. Rachel was eager to learn and incredibly reliable. We worked well together, communicating through video calls and messaging apps. She was based in another state, which made the arrangement perfect for both of us. You're building something real here, Nicole observed when we met for lunch one Saturday. You could scale this into a real agency. That's the plan, I admitted. I'm thinking of hiring 2 more people by the end of the year. Maybe 3. I'm already turning away potential clients because I don't have capacity. How's the house search going? I had been looking for a new place to live for the past few weeks. The house would close in early July, so I needed somewhere to go. I found a condo downtown, I said, showing her photos on my phone. 2-bedroom, big windows, renovated kitchen. It's in a building with a gym and a rooftop terrace. It's beautiful. Can you afford it? Comfortably. The monthly payment is less than what Derek and I were paying for the house, and I'm making triple what I was 3 months ago. Nicole shook her head in amazement. Look at you. Business owner. Property owner. Independent woman. It feels good, I admitted. It feels right. But not everything was smooth. The divorce still was not final. There were delays with the court processing, paperwork that needed corrections, back and forth between lawyers about minor details. Patricia assured me it was normal, but the waiting was frustrating. These things take time, she explained. We're looking at probably another 6 weeks before the judge signs off on everything. 6 more weeks of being legally married to Derek. 6 more weeks of having any connection to him at all. In mid-June, Derek texted me directly for the first time since we signed the mediation agreement. Patricia had warned me he might try to contact me once the initial shock wore off. We need to talk about some items from the house, the text read. Can we meet? I forwarded the text to Patricia. Her response was immediate. All communication should go through me. Do not respond to him directly. I followed her advice and blocked Derek's number. 2 days later, Patricia called. Derek wants to keep some furniture that was technically included in your settlement. Family pieces, he says. I told him no unless he's willing to pay you for them. He's thinking about it. I don't want anything from his family, I said. If it matters that much to him, he can have it. I'm buying new furniture anyway. You sure? Some of those pieces are valuable. I'm sure. I want nothing that reminds me of him. That was true. I had already donated most of my clothes from the marriage, keeping only items I had bought in the past few months. I was creating a completely new life, and that meant leaving the past behind entirely. The condo purchase moved forward quickly. I was approved for a mortgage with ease, my business income and down payment making me an attractive buyer. The closing was scheduled for mid-July, a week after the house sale finalized. I spent an entire weekend shopping for furniture online. A new bed with a bright blue comforter. A modern couch in green. Colorful throw pillows and artwork. Everything was vibrant, bold, nothing like the neutral tones Derek had preferred in our old house. This was my space, my style, my life. In early July, 2 things happened in the same week. First, the house sale closed. $52,000 hit my bank account. Second, the divorce was finalized. 7 years of marriage officially ended. Patricia called to give me the news. Congratulations. You're officially divorced. The judge signed off on everything this morning. I'll send you the final decree by email. Thank you, I said, for everything. You've been amazing through all of this. You made my job easy. You were prepared, reasonable, and tough when you needed to be. That's the perfect client. After hanging up, I sat in my soon-to-be former living room, the one I had shared with Derek, and let the reality sink in. I was divorced, officially legally single. I called Nicole. It's done. The divorce is final. How do you feel? Free. Really, truly free. That weekend, I moved into my new condo. Rachel came to help, along with Nicole and a few other friends. We carried boxes, assembled furniture, hung pictures. By Sunday evening, the place looked like a home. That night, after everyone left, I stood on my rooftop terrace, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Derek was living his diminished life. But I was not thinking about him. I was thinking about my future. The business I was building. The life I was creating. The woman I was becoming. I pulled out my phone and opened my business banking app. $28,000. In 4 months, my business had generated enough income to give me financial security I never had during my marriage. I thought about the woman I was 6 months ago. Naive, trusting, dependent. She seemed like a stranger now. The new Simone was strong, independent, successful, and she was just getting started. August brought changes that felt less like adjustments and more like transformations. My condo had become a true home, decorated with bold colors that reflected my personality rather than Derek's preferences. The living room featured an emerald green couch, the bedroom had maroon curtains, and the office space where I worked was painted a soft blue that helped me focus. My business had grown beyond anything I imagined when I started. Rachel was now working 30 hours a week as my assistant, and I had brought on another contractor, Kevin, to handle social media management for clients. Together, we were serving 23 active clients, generating over $12,000 monthly in revenue. But it was not just about money. It was about purpose. Every client I helped, every problem I solved, every deadline I met proved to myself that I was capable of building something meaningful on my own. One Tuesday morning, I received an email that would change everything again. Dear Simone, I'm reaching out because Margaret Stone spoke highly of your work. I'm organizing a women's entrepreneurship conference in September and would love to have you speak on a panel about building a business after personal setbacks. Would you be interested? Best regards, Jennifer Hart, conference organizer. A speaking opportunity. At a real conference. About my story. I called Margaret immediately. Did you recommend me for a speaking panel? I did, Margaret said. Jennifer is a friend, and when she mentioned needing speakers who had overcome adversity to build businesses, I thought of you immediately. You should do it. I've never spoken publicly before. What if I mess up? Then you'll learn and do better next time. Simone, you have a powerful story. Women need to hear it. They need to know they can survive betrayal and come out stronger. That afternoon, I responded to Jennifer, accepting the invitation. The panel would be in mid-September, giving me 5 weeks to prepare. The topic was Rising from the Ashes, Building Business After Life Falls Apart. I spent the next few weeks crafting my presentation, working with a speaking coach Nicole recommended. I practiced in front of my mirror, recorded myself, critiqued every word and gesture. Meanwhile, my business continued to expand. I landed a major client, a tech startup that needed full-service virtual support for their executive team. The contract was worth $3,000 monthly. With that addition, my monthly revenue hit $15,000. Rachel approached me about working full-time. I know you've been saying you want to expand, she said during our weekly video call. I'm ready to commit to this full-time if you are. It was a big step. Hiring an employee meant payroll, taxes, benefits. It meant commitment. But I was ready. Let's do it, I said. But I want to do this right. You'll be an employee, not a contractor. Health insurance, pay time off, the whole package. Rachel's face lit up. Really? Simone, that's amazing. You've earned it. You're reliable, skilled, and you care about the clients as much as I do. Let's grow this thing together. We worked with my CPA to set everything up properly. Rachel would start as a full-time employee in September, handling client communications and basic administrative tasks, allowing me to focus on business development and the more complex projects. The weekend before the conference, I tried on 5 different outfits before settling on a red blazer with black pants and a white blouse. Professional but bold. I practiced my speech one more time, refining the parts that felt clunky. Nicole came over Saturday night for a practice run. I stood in my living room and delivered my entire 15-minute presentation while she watched from the couch. When I finished, she was wiping tears from her eyes. What's wrong? I asked, concerned. Nothing's wrong. That was beautiful. You're going to inspire so many people. The conference was held at a downtown hotel with over 500 attendees. Women entrepreneurs from all industries and stages of business. I arrived early, checking in at the registration desk, receiving my speaker badge. The panel was scheduled for 2 in the afternoon. I sat in on morning sessions, listening to other women share their stories. A single mother who built $1 million consulting firm. An immigrant who started a successful restaurant chain. A cancer survivor who created a wellness brand. These were real women with real struggles who had built real success. I belonged here. When my panel's turn came, I walked onto the stage with 3 other speakers. We sat in comfortable chairs arranged in a semicircle, with the moderator, Jennifer, facing us. Let's start with Simone, Jennifer said after introducing us all. Tell us about your journey. I took a breath and began. 6 months ago, I discovered my husband of 7 years was having an affair. Instead of falling apart, I did something unexpected. I gathered evidence, hired a lawyer, started a business, and took control of my life. Today, I run a successful virtual assistant agency, I'm financially independent, and I'm happier than I've ever been. The day I thought my life ended was actually the day it began. The audience was quiet, attentive. I continued, sharing the practical steps I took. The evidence gathering. The business research. The client development. The divorce process. I was honest about the pain, the fear, the uncertainty. But I focused on the actions, the decisions, the determination. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. Several women stood up. I felt my eyes water but held the tears back. The questions from the audience were thoughtful and genuine. How did I find my first clients? How did I manage the emotional pain while building the business? What would I say to women in similar situations? I would tell them that your pain can become your power, I said in response to that last question. That the person who hurt you does not get to define your future. That you are capable of more than you realize. And that the best revenge is not hurting them back, but building a life so good they become completely irrelevant to your happiness. After the panel, women lined up to talk to me. They shared their own stories of divorce, betrayal, and rebuilding. They asked for business advice. They asked for my contact information. Several wanted to hire me or refer clients to me. One woman, around my age, gripped my hands and said, "I needed to hear this today. My husband just left me for someone younger. I thought my life was over. But listening to you, I realize it might just be beginning." "It is beginning," I told her. "I promise you." That evening, Jennifer took the panelists out for dinner. Over wine and good food, we talked about our businesses, our challenges, our dreams. These women understood what it took to build something from nothing. They understood the cost of success. "You're a natural speaker," Jennifer said. "Have you considered doing more of this?" "This was my first time," I admitted. "Really? You seem so comfortable up there." "Listen, I organize several conferences a year. I'd love to have you speak at more of them, especially events focused on women overcoming adversity. I'd be interested in that." We exchanged contact information. Another door opening. Another possibility. When I got home that night, I found a text from Rachel. "I watched the live stream of your panel. You were incredible. So proud to work for you." I also had an email from Margaret. "Just watched your panel. You knocked it out of the park. I have 3 more colleagues who want your services. Sending their info tomorrow." And, surprisingly, an email from Patricia. "A friend forwarded me the conference live stream. You were amazing. Look how far you've come." I sat on my couch in my beautiful condo, surrounded by the life I had built, and let myself feel proud. Not just of surviving, but of thriving. Not just of getting through the pain, but of transforming it into purpose. 6 months ago, I was a woman watching her husband kiss another woman, feeling like her world was ending. Today I was a business owner, a speaker, an inspiration to others. The journey was not over. There was still so much I wanted to build, to achieve, to become. But looking at how far I had come, I knew I could do anything. Derek had thought breaking my heart would break me. Instead, it had set me free. September brought news through unexpected channels. I was at a coffee shop working on a client project when my phone buzzed with a message from an old colleague from the library. "Teresa. Hope you're doing well. Heard through the grapevine that your ex is having a rough time. Thought you'd want to know. Coffee soon?" I stared at the message, curiosity winning over my determination to not care about Derek's life. I responded, "I'm good. What's going on with him?" Teresa's response came quickly. "Brianna apparently left him for her boss. Derek's been a mess at work. He was passed over for the promotion again, and word is his performance has been declining. Some people say he's been showing up late, missing deadlines. Very unlike the Derek we knew." I set my phone down, processing this information. Part of me, a small part, felt a flicker of satisfaction. But mostly I felt nothing. Derek's problems were his own making, and they had nothing to do with me anymore. The next piece of news came from Nicole a few days later. We were having lunch at a restaurant near my condo when she hesitated, fork halfway to her mouth. "Okay, I debated telling you this, but I think you should know. Derek showed up at our house last weekend." I set down my water glass carefully. "What?" "Marcus was at the gym. Derek just appeared at the door asking to talk. He looked rough, Simone. Like he hasn't been sleeping or eating properly. He wanted to know how you were doing, if you ever mentioned him, if you were seeing anyone." "What did you tell him?" "I told him that you're doing incredibly well, that you never talk about him, and that who you date is none of his business. Then I told him not to come back." "Good." "He said he made the biggest mistake of his life. That he wants another chance. He actually cried on my doorstep." I shook my head. "That's not my problem." "I know. I just thought you should be aware in case he tries to contact you directly." But Derek did not contact me. Instead, a week later, I received a message through LinkedIn from someone named Caroline, who said she worked in Derek's building. "I hope this isn't overstepping, but I saw your name in Derek Johnson's divorce papers at the office. I'm going through something similar with my husband. Your ex has been a cautionary tale around here. The affair with Brianna cost him professionally, and now he's apparently in financial trouble trying to maintain his lifestyle while paying alimony and splitting assets. Anyway, I wanted to say that seeing how you've built your business gives me hope. Thank you for being an example." I responded professionally, offering to connect her with Patricia and some resources for starting a business. But Caroline's message reinforced what Teresa and Nicole had said. Derek's life had imploded. The third confirmation came in early October during a networking event. I was talking with a group of entrepreneurs when a woman named Susan mentioned she worked in corporate consulting at Derek's company. "You're Simone Johnson? Oh my goodness, you're Derek's ex-wife." I tensed. "Yes. I just want to say good for you for getting out. That whole situation was such a mess. The affair, the divorce, and now he's probably getting let go in the next round of layoffs. Management doesn't want the drama." "I didn't know that." "Yeah, it's been rough for him. Meanwhile, I follow your business page online. You're doing amazing things. It's a perfect example of how the trash takes itself out, you know?" I excused myself shortly after, needing air. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and processed everything. Derek was losing his job. His relationship with Brianna had crashed and burned. His reputation was damaged. His finances were strained. His life was falling apart. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. No concern. Just nothing. That realization was more powerful than any revenge I could have planned. Derek had become irrelevant to my happiness. When I got home, I looked at my business dashboard. 35 clients now. Monthly revenue at $22,000. Rachel working full-time, Kevin working 30 hours a week, and I was interviewing candidates for a third position. I had speaking engagements scheduled through December. Jennifer had booked me for 2 more conferences. Margaret's second course launch was set for November, which would bring another significant commission. My personal life was flourishing too. I had joined a women's business owners group that met monthly. I had started taking salsa dancing classes on Thursday nights, something Derek would have never agreed to. I was traveling more, taking weekend trips to explore new cities. I was living the life I wanted on my terms without compromise. The universe had delivered its own justice to Derek. I did not need to do anything. His choices had consequences and he was living with them. That weekend I was at a business meetup when I met Isaiah, an entrepreneur who had built a successful software company. We ended up in the same small group discussion about scaling businesses. "You have impressive growth," he said after I shared my business stats. "Going from 0 to 22,000 monthly in 6 months is remarkable." "Thank you. It's been intense but worth it. I'd love to hear more about your strategy. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime?" I'm always interested in learning from other entrepreneurs. We exchanged business cards. It was professional, friendly, nothing romantic. But it reminded me that there were good men in the world. Men who saw me as a professional equal, who were interested in my mind and my achievements, not in betraying or diminishing me. A few days later, Isaiah and I met for coffee. We talked business for an hour, sharing strategies and challenges. He had built his company from scratch 8 years ago and now had 20 employees. "The hardest part is knowing when to delegate," he said. "Letting go of control and trusting others to maintain your standards." "I'm struggling with that now," I admitted. "I want to hire more people, but I'm worried about maintaining quality. Hire slowly, train thoroughly, and accept that people will do things differently than you. Different doesn't mean wrong." It was good advice. We met for coffee again 2 weeks later, then again a month after that. A friendship was developing based on mutual respect and shared interests. It felt healthy and natural. Meanwhile, Derek's downward spiral continued. Through various sources, I learned he had been let go from his job in November. His apartment, wherever he was living, was smaller and in a less desirable neighborhood. He was struggling with the alimony payments. None of it brought me joy, but it did bring clarity. I had made the right choice in leaving. I had made the right choice in focusing on myself. I had made the right choice in building my own life rather than trying to salvage something that was already broken. By December, a full year after I had first discovered the affair, my business had 42 clients and was generating $30,000 monthly. I had hired a 4th team member and was looking at office space because working from home was becoming impractical. I was featured in a local business magazine's article about successful women entrepreneurs. The photo shoot was fun, styled in bright, confident colors that reflected who I had become. When the magazine came out, I received a text from an unknown number. Despite having Derek blocked, he had apparently gotten a new phone. "Saw your article. You look happy." "I'm glad. I know I ruined everything, but I'm happy you're doing well." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Whatever Derek was feeling, whatever he wanted to say, it did not concern me anymore. He had his path. I had mine. And mine was so much better. The new year brought fresh opportunities and unexpected developments. My business, now officially named Elevate Virtual Solutions, continued to grow. We moved into a small office space in January, a bright suite with large windows overlooking the city. Rachel, Kevin, and my 2 newer team members, Jordan and Melissa, All had desks in the main area while I took the smaller private office for client calls and focused work. "This is real," Rachel said on our first day in the new space, looking around at the furnished office with our company name on the door. "We're a real company now." "We were always real," I replied. "Now we just have a physical space to prove it." The office became a hub of productivity. We established systems, held team meetings, celebrated wins together. I was no longer just a solo entrepreneur. I was leading a team, building something bigger than myself. In February, I received an unexpected email from Jennifer Hart, the conference organizer who had first invited me to speak. "Simone, I'm planning something special for International Women's Day in March. A full-day event focused on women's empowerment and economic independence. I want you to be the keynote speaker. The event will be live-streamed and attended by about 1,000 women. Interested?" Keynote speaker. Not a panelist, but the main event. It was terrifying and thrilling. "Yes," I wrote back. "Absolutely yes." I spent the next month preparing the most important speech of my life. I worked with my speaking coach, refining every word, every gesture, every pause. The speech would be 30 minutes, telling my complete story from discovery to divorce to building my business. Isaiah, who had become a good friend over the past few months, helped me practice. "You need to own your power," he said after listening to a draft. "You're not a victim who survived. You're a warrior who conquered. Make sure the audience feels that." We met for coffee weekly now, sometimes discussing business, sometimes just talking about life. He was divorced 2 years prior, no kids. He understood the journey of rebuilding after a relationship ended. "Do you ever think about dating again?" he asked one afternoon in late February. "Honestly? No. I'm so focused on the business and myself. The thought of letting someone into my life again feels overwhelming." I get that. It took me a year before I even considered it. But eventually you might want to. And when you do, you'll be in such a better position to choose wisely. What about you? Are you dating? Casually. Nothing serious. I'm in no rush. My company is my priority right now. It was an easy, honest conversation. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who had been through similar experiences, supporting each other's growth. The Women's Day event arrived on March 8th. I wore a red dress, my hair styled professionally, makeup done perfectly. I looked powerful because I felt powerful. Backstage, Jennifer gave me a quick hug. "You're going to be amazing. Just remember, you're not talking to 1,000 people. You're talking to one person who needs to hear your message. Speak to her." When they called my name and I walked onto that stage, looking out at the sea of faces, I felt a calm settle over me. This was where I was meant to be. 1 year and 3 months ago, I watched my husband kiss another woman in a coffee shop. In that moment, I had a choice. I could fall apart or I could fight back. Not with anger or revenge, but by becoming someone better. By building a life so good that his betrayal became the best thing that ever happened to me. For the next 30 minutes, I shared everything. The pain, the planning, the business building, the challenges, the victories. I talked about the importance of financial independence. The power of taking action when your world falls apart. The truth that you don't need someone else to be complete. "My ex-husband thought he could have everything," I said near the end. "He thought he could betray me and I would just accept it, maybe even beg him to stay. But I want you to understand something. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When someone treats you as less than you deserve, leave. When your world falls apart, that's not an ending. That's an opportunity to build something better." The standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. Women were crying, cheering, holding up their phones to record. After the speech, the line of women waiting to talk to me stretched across the venue. They shared their stories, their struggles, their questions. I gave them my business card, my email, my encouragement. Some wanted business advice. Others just wanted to say thank you for giving them hope. One woman, probably in her 50s, held my hands and said, "I've been married for 30 years to a man who cheats constantly. I stayed because I thought I couldn't make it alone. But listening to you, I realize I can. I'm going to file for divorce." "You can do this," I told her. "And you'll be amazed at what you discover about yourself on the other side." The speech was shared widely online. By the end of the week, it had been viewed over 50,000 times. My business email was flooded with inquiries from potential clients, speaking requests, and messages from women thanking me for my words. My team could barely keep up with the demand. We had to create a waitlist for new clients. I booked speaking engagements through the end of the year. Media outlets reached out for interviews. "You're becoming a brand," Isaiah observed when we met for coffee the following week. "Have you thought about what you want to do with this platform?" I want to help more women, I said. Not just through my business, but through speaking, maybe writing. I want them to know they have options, they have power, they have worth. You should write a book. Your story could reach millions. A book. I had not considered that. But Isaiah was right. A book could share my message far beyond speaking events and social media posts. I'll think about it, I said. That evening I started outlining what a book might look like. My story, yes, but also practical advice. How to prepare for divorce. How to start a business. How to rebuild your life. How to find yourself again after losing yourself in someone else. In late March, I received an unexpected call from Patricia. Derek's lawyer contacted me, she said. Derek is having trouble making the alimony payments. They're asking if you'd consider reducing the amount. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. No. Are you sure? The business is doing well. You don't technically need the alimony anymore. It's not about need. It's about the agreement we made. He gets to live with the consequences of his choices, and one of those consequences is paying what he owes me. If he can't afford it, that's his problem to solve. Fair enough. I'll let them know. The truth was, I did not need Derek's alimony. My business was generating over $40,000 monthly now. But the principle mattered. He owed me those payments and I would collect every dollar. In April, Melissa approached me with an interesting proposal. She had noticed several clients asking for similar services that fell outside our current offerings. What if we expanded into business consulting? She suggested. Not just virtual assistants, but helping small businesses set up their systems, train their teams, develop their processes. It was a natural evolution. We had the expertise. We had the credibility. We had the client base. Let's research it, I said. Put together a proposal for what that service line would look like, what we'd charge, what resources we'd need. Melissa came back 2 weeks later with a comprehensive plan. We spent a team meeting discussing it, refining it, getting everyone's input. By the end of April, we had launched our consulting services. The response was immediate. 3 clients signed on for full consulting packages in the first month. By June, we had 8 consulting clients alongside our 40-plus virtual assistance clients. I hired 2 more people to handle the increased workload. The team was now at 8, including me. Revenue was approaching $60,000 monthly. One evening in early May, Isaiah and I were having dinner at a restaurant near my office. It had become a regular thing, these casual dinners where we talked about business and life. Can I ask you something personal? He said over dessert. Sure. Do you ever think you'll want a relationship again? Not necessarily romantic, but just partnership? I considered the question carefully. Honestly, I don't know. I'm happy now. Really, genuinely happy. The thought of adding someone else into my life, with all the compromises and vulnerabilities that requires. I'm not sure I want that. What if it didn't require compromises? What if you found someone who enhanced your life rather than limited it? Is that person even real? Or just a fantasy we tell ourselves? Isaiah smiled. I think they're real. Rare but real. I think you deserve to find out. There was something in his tone, a gentleness that made me look at him differently. Was he suggesting something? Or was I reading too much into a friendly conversation? What about you? I asked. Have you found that person? I might be looking at her right now. My breath caught. I had not expected this. Isaiah and I were friends. Good friends. But romance? I had not let myself consider it. Isaiah. I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know that I see you, Simone. Not the business owner or the keynote speaker. I see the woman who took her pain and turned it into power. Who built something amazing from nothing. Who inspires thousands of people. And I think you're incredible. I did not know what to say. Part of me wanted to shut this down immediately, to protect the independence I had fought so hard to build. But another part of me, a smaller but growing part, wondered what it might be like to let someone in. Someone who saw me as an equal. Someone who respected my strength rather than feeling threatened by it. Can I think about it? I asked. Take all the time you need. Our friendship doesn't change either way. As I drove home that night, I thought about Isaiah's words. About partnership versus independence. About whether those two things had to be in opposition. I was not ready for a relationship. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But for the first time since Derek, I was open to the possibility that someday with the right person, I might want to share my life again. Not because I needed someone, but because I chose to. 15 months after discovering Derek's affair, I stood in the ballroom of the downtown Marriott, surrounded by 150 people celebrating the first anniversary of Elevate Virtual Solutions. The event was more than a party. It was a statement. A declaration that I had not just survived, I had flourished. The space was decorated in the company colors. Vibrant blue and green with touches of red. Bright, bold, confident. Team members mingled with clients, partners, and other entrepreneurs. A photographer captured moments throughout the evening. A caterer served elegant appetizers. A jazz band played in the corner. Rachel, now my director of operations, stood next to me looking at the crowd. "A year ago we were working from your condo," she said. "Look at us now." "Look at us now," I echoed. The numbers told the story better than words. 63 clients, 12 team members, $85,000 in monthly revenue. We had expanded beyond virtual assistants into full business consulting, helping other entrepreneurs build systems and scale their companies. But the impact went beyond numbers. I had spoken at 23 events over the past year, reaching tens of thousands of women with my message about resilience and independence. My social media following had grown to over 40,000 people. I had signed a book deal in March with the manuscript due in 6 months. Most importantly, I had helped other women directly. 3 former clients had left their own difficult marriages and started businesses with my guidance. 5 women had reached out after hearing me speak and were now running successful ventures. Dozens more had written to tell me my story gave them courage to change their lives. As the evening progressed, I moved through the crowd, thanking clients, celebrating with my team, connecting with other business owners. Jennifer was there, having become not just a business connection but a genuine friend. Margaret was there with her husband, proud of the success her early support had helped create. Nicole was there, of course, wearing a beautiful maroon dress and beaming with pride. And Isaiah was there. Over the past few months, our friendship had deepened into something more. We were taking it slowly, carefully, both of us protective of our independence and wary of rushing into something we were not ready for. But there was something real between us, something healthy and balanced. A partnership between equals. You found me during a quiet moment. You should be proud of yourself. I am, I said simply, because I was. Not arrogantly, but with honest acknowledgement of how far I had come. I have something to tell you, Isaiah said. I got a call today from a venture capital firm. They're interested in investing in a project I've been developing. It's a big opportunity, but it would mean relocating to Seattle for 6 months to get things set up. My first instinct was fear. Fear of losing this connection we had been building. But then I remembered who I was now. Strong. Independent. Secure. That's incredible, I said genuinely. You should absolutely do it. You're not upset? Why would I be upset? This is your dream. I want you to go after it. What about us? We'll figure it out. Long distance for 6 months isn't ideal, but we're both grown adults with successful businesses. We can handle it. He pulled me into a hug. This is why I care about you. You get it? You understand that supporting each other's dreams is more important than convenience. Later that evening, I took the microphone to give a toast. The room quieted as I stood at the front. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began. A year ago, Elevate Virtual Solutions was just an idea, a dream built from necessity. Today, it's a thriving company that helps other businesses succeed. But this celebration is about more than business growth. I paused, looking around the room at the faces of people who had supported me, believed in me, worked with me. 15 months ago, my life fell apart. My marriage ended in betrayal. I could have let that destroy me. Instead, I made a choice. I chose to build something new. I chose to become someone stronger. I chose to prove that one person's inability to see my worth did not define my value. Several women in the audience were nodding, some wiping tears. This company exists because I refused to let someone else's choices limit my potential. And I hope that in some small way our success inspires others to do the same. To choose themselves. To build their dreams. To know that endings can become beginnings if you're brave enough to start over. I raised my glass. To new beginnings, to hard work, to the people who support us, and to the incredible futures we're all building. To new beginnings, the room echoed. After the toast, people came up to share their own stories. A client told me she had been on the verge of bankruptcy when we started working together, and now her business was profitable. A woman I did not know said she had heard me speak 6 months ago and had just filed for divorce from an abusive husband. A young entrepreneur said my story gave her courage to start her own business despite her family's doubts. Near the end of the evening, I stepped out onto the hotel's terrace for a moment of quiet. The city lights spread out before me, beautiful and full of possibility. My phone buzzed. An email from Derek. I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. Simone, I heard about your business anniversary through mutual friends. I'm truly happy for your success. I know I don't have the right to say this, but I'm proud of you. What you've built is remarkable. I hope you're happy. I know I destroyed any chance of us being together again, but I want you to know I recognize now what I lost. You're an incredible woman and I was a fool. I hope someday you can forgive me, not for my sake, but for yours. Wishing you continued success. Derek. I read the email twice, waiting for some feeling to surface. Anger? Satisfaction? But there was nothing. Just a sense of closure. I did not respond. There was nothing to say. Derek was my past. This party, this business, this life I had built was my present and my future. I deleted the email and went back inside. The party continued until midnight. When the last guests left, my team and I sat around a table, exhausted and happy, reviewing the evening. This was perfect, Melissa said. It was just the beginning, I replied. Next year will be even bigger. As I drove home that night, I thought about the journey. 15 months from discovery to success. From betrayal to business ownership. From brokenness to strength. The GPS took me past the street where the Daily Grind coffee shop was located. The place where I had first seen Derek with Brianna. I glanced at it as I drove by, feeling nothing. It was just a building. Just a place. It had no power over me anymore. When I reached my condo, I changed into comfortable clothes and sat on my couch with a glass of wine. I opened my laptop and looked at my business dashboard one more time. 85,000 in monthly revenue. 12 employees depending on me. 63 clients trusting us with their success. I thought about Derek's email. His apology. His recognition of what he lost. But the truth was, he did not lose me. I left. I chose to go. I chose to build something better. And that choice, that decision to fight for myself rather than fight to keep a broken relationship, had made all the difference. My phone buzzed. A text from Isaiah. Had a great time tonight. You built something amazing. Proud to know you. I smiled and responded. Thank you for being part of the journey. Another text came in, this one from Nicole. Best party ever. You're my hero. Then Rachel. Boss, you inspire me every day. Thanks for taking a chance on me. And Margaret. Watched you grow from a woman in crisis to a powerhouse. Never stop shining. I set my phone down and looked around my condo. My space. Decorated exactly how I wanted. Filled with things that made me happy. A home that represented freedom and choice. This was the sweet success. Not just the business, not just the money, not just the speaking engagements or the book deal. The success was in becoming the woman I was always meant to be. Strong. Independent. Capable. Joyful. Derek had thought breaking my heart would break me. He was wrong. It had freed me. The best revenge is not making someone suffer for hurting you. The best revenge is building a life so fulfilling that their betrayal becomes a gift. A catalyst. A necessary ending that made room for a better beginning. I raised my wine glass to myself, to my team, to my future. To every woman who had ever been betrayed and chose to build rather than break. To every person who turned their pain into power. Here's to us, I said to the empty room. We did it. And we had. Against the odds, against the pain, against the people who doubted us. We had risen from the ashes of what broke us and built something beautiful. This was not the end of my story. It was just the beginning of the best chapter yet.